Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are again. Today we're talking about physical helplessness and why you shall not listen to people who are physically helpless. You're going to come across people in your life that appear to be good coaches. They appear to have some insight to share with you. They're going to prop themselves up as if they are in a position to tell other people what to do and how to do it. It's absolutely critical that you do not fall into the trap of allowing any of these people who are physically helpless to tell you shit. All right? This should go without saying, but it's another one of these things that kind of does but kind of doesn't. And it's a cultural thing. Here in America, most people are perfectly fine with like going to college and listening to these academic losers tell them what's going on. And I'm happy to share with you, they're wrong. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're an embarrassment to themselves. And you're an embarrassment if you take anything they say seriously. And here's why. Inability to defend yourself leads to fear, and fear clouds your judgment. Mic drop. Okay, so fear factors into your behavior. Fear and pain are the greatest motivator in life. You have two categories that you can kind of file everything under. People are going to do things because they're afraid of the consequences. They have a fear and there's a pain aspect. And then people are going to do things because of they have this willful, hopeful motivation to gain something. And there's plenty of studies that have been done on all this. One of the most famous is a rat connected to a spring. And you measure the amount of force that's put on the spring by putting food in front of the rat, and the rat will pull on the spring to get to the food, and you can measure how hard is this rat going to pull in order to get to this food. And then you record that, and then with another situation, you take a rat with a thing of food and you put the spring on the rat and you measure how much force is put on the spring, but you introduce the smell of a cat. And now the rat is scared as fuck of the cat that's going to come get him. And what you'll find is that once you introduce this fear aspect into the matrix, the performance, the curve on the performance is amazing. All right? And you can do the same thing with people. And that's one of the ways that we are all treated almost all the time. Once you see it, it's very difficult to unsee it. My father, God rest his soul, rest in peace, Dad, he had a saying, and I don't know that he came up with this, but he would explain to people that a teachable moment, a moment in which you can actually learn something, is when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of making a change. So you're not going to change shit until you're in so much pain that it's easier to make the change that you know you should have been already done making. And I found that to be absolutely true almost universally in my life. It is a rarity that you will find someone that actually just goes through life making all the right decisions, just hitting home runs constantly because they just want to gain something. They just have this vision of success and they're so committed to this success that they just always fucking hit home runs. And they just never fuck up. It doesn't go down like that. More often than not, and if you talk to the most successful men in the world, they will tell you great stories of great pain that help them to be motivated beyond their own capacity for wanting to gain something and having just this wonderful, successful life with no dips and no hiccups and no pain and no suffering. And it's not bad news. It's actually good news. And if you can internalize this and integrate this into yourself, then you'll be able to use this and learn from other people's mistakes very effectively. So some people's opinions are much more qualified than others. And why is that? Well, there's a combination of intellect and experience, but also they have experienced pain and suffering to a point where they were able to learn from it and make changes and then reassess the situation and determine that the change that they made was an excellent change to have been made. So the kind of people that you want to listen to are the warrior philosopher types. And this isn't my concept here. This goes way back, ancient Greece. You got Zeno, who's one of the guys that came up with the whole Stoicism thing. I've never really read any books on Stoicism. I know there's Marcus Aurelius stuff posted all over the internet all the time. I never even looked into any of that shit. I would venture to say that I probably know all that stuff from just my own life and personal experience, because when I see people posting these Marcus Aurelius quotes and whatnot, I find it all to be like super legit. So that prevents me from having to go back and read that stuff, because I'm like, oh yeah, they agree with me. Good. I'm glad these cats way back then already had this stuff figured out. That kind of puts us in the same category. So maybe at some point I'll go back and read some of that if I have some extra spare time. But I would go out on a limb and say it's probably good reading, and it's probably very, very difficult to poke holes in all that stuff. But like I said, I haven't read it myself. I haven't found it necessary to do that. What I have read is Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Magnificent. Highly recommended. There's a guy called Plato, Aristotle. Again, I haven't read their work, and from what I have been told, these guys were like rampant homosexual pedophiles. So I'm probably not going there. but Plato is quoted as saying things along the lines of, "He who is an athlete is too crude, too vulgar, and too savage. He who is a scholar is too soft and too effeminate. The ideal man is of thought and a man of action." I would agree with that. That sounds like exactly what we need here now at this point in time. Sun Tzu would say things that are brilliant, like, the greatest victory is that which requires no battle. He would also say there is no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare. He would also, read The Art of War. It's an unlimited treasure trove of magnificently written short bits that you could turn, ideas that you could turn into quotes and live your life by, and you'll be way ahead of the curve. All right? So think about this in your relationships with women. If you've seen my videos, you've heard me say stuff like this before. The best way to solve conflict, the best way to solve problems is without conflict. And if your woman is in a power struggle with you, if she's trying to overtake you and lead you astray and self-destruct and drag you down into hell with her, then you will find that these two things that Sun Tzu said, the greatest victory is that which requires no battle, she will not operate on that principle. And there is no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare. She will not operate on that principle. It's your job to understand this shit, internalize it, and refuse to deviate from this. And if she cannot or will not join your team and begin to operate on these principles, I'm sorry to tell you, my friends, stop putting your dick in that woman. Stop it. Do not provide her any children. They will be taken as hostages and used against you. Now, I'm not telling you this because I'm better than you. I don't have some fucked up attitude where I think I'm special or I think I know more shit than you or any of that. I've already made these mistakes. I've already burned this shit to the ground and had to rebuild it up in my life. So let me tell you from personal experience. Not that I'm better, not that I'm smarter, not that I'm more innocent, not that I don't have more sin than you, not that, none of that. If you haven't already done this, please let me tell you that the woman that you're with right now that refuse to operate on these two principles is absolutely, positively, should be righteously left on the side of the road in the cold now. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not next week, next month. Right now, homie. Now. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. And there is no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare. Dr. David Buss, the super famous, very well respected evolutionary psychology guy, would agree with me. Although he may not have the balls to take this stance, what he has to say is our minds and bodies are not separate entities, but rather intimately connected, each affecting the other. That's all I'm saying to you. I don't have to go to college and get a PhD and do studies and all this, spend all this fucking time to come up with this. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, if your chick wants to fight with you all the time, bail on that chick. If she doesn't realize that the best way to problem solve is without conflict, bail on that shit. She is a chaos demon. She is an energy vampire. Do not allow yourself to be an emotional tampon. That is fucking embarrassing. So stop. And what you'll find is once you can operate on these principles, and once you can draw lines in the sand, and once you can set women outside of your car onto the sidewalk in the cold and leave them there and never look back, more and more women of a higher quality and a much, much, much more satisfactory level of sexual attraction will be very interested in aligning themselves with you. It's crazy how inverted these chicks are. But the more you can bail on them and not give a shit, the more they want to be with you. Now, the danger here is that you may get kind of black-pilled and you don't want to practice just bailing on everybody all the time. That can be a self-destructive behavior. Networking is very important, and there's no such thing as independence. We all need one another all the time in every way. So don't get it twisted. You're not special. It's not going to help you out to just be pissed off at chicks and bail on them because you're like fucking mad. Don't get mad. Don't get resentful. Don't be the man version of a blue-haired feminist loser. Don't do that. One more bit of information to share with you. The society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools. I got good news and bad news, boys. Women are in the cowards category. So don't put yourself in the fools category by just being some strong dude that knows how to be a certified ass whipper, but not being able to think your way out of a wet paper bag. That's embarrassing. Don't be an intellectual strongman that can't fight your way out of a wet paper bag. That is embarrassing. So it's not an either or situation here. It's a yes and. Do you need to be smart? Yes. Do you need to be well read? Yes. And you need to be a certified ass whipper. Don't be a fucking bitch. Most of you are bitches by choice. And that's why it's embarrassing. It's never embarrassing to start as a white belt in whatever the fuck. That's the most respected choice you can make. Get started. Leave the bitch-made version of yourself behind you yesterday. Don't get caught up in comparing yourself to all these other great men that are so much better than you at all these things. It's wonderful to look up. It's wonderful to look up to them and to follow in some footsteps and to learn from those that have already done the things that you need to learn how to do. Of course. Yes. And be more intelligent tomorrow than you were today. Be stronger tomorrow than you were today. Be more dangerous tomorrow than you were today. If you allow yourself to be led astray by cowards, and that includes women, then you, my friend, are a fool. Now, am I calling all women cowards? This goes without saying, man. What are we doing here? If you expect them not to be cowards, you, my friend, are embarrassingly foolish. It's not their job. That's your job. It's not their job to fight. It's your job. It's not their job to outthink you. It's your job to outthink them. And so this is why your wife doesn't respect you. This is why your wife doesn't fuck you. You cannot separate these things. This is why your church doesn't respect you. And this is why you don't respect your church. It's amazing. The weakening and the pridefulness in separating these two things, that is an egregious sin, my friends. Be very careful. So do you need to spend an equal amount of time reading philosophy books and learning how to wrestle and box? Probably not. You're probably already way heavier in one category than the other. So find your weakest position and strengthen that. In addition to that, wherever you are strong, you have to sharpen constantly. And that'll be easier for you than sharpening where you're weak. But if you disregard your duty to yourself and the society in which you live, to work on these things simultaneously, then you are a failure. So if you're a fat slob, you know what to do. And if you're somewhat foolish and you're cool with that, you know what to do. Stop doing all this shit that you know you shouldn't be doing. That's the most important thing that nobody wants to tell you. Hold yourself accountable for all your bitch-madeness. It's not a good look. And so for you ladies out there, yes, you are a coward. It's okay. The sooner you learn to accept that, the less it's going to hurt your feelings. Find an honorable man. Align yourself with him and let your old, selfish, prideful self pass away. Let it go. Your desire for self-destruction is natural. It's your resentment at God Himself for creating you as the weaker sex. Perhaps that's your greatest burden. Accept your death. Nobody gets out alive. No one. I'm just here showing you guys love. It's because I love you that I want you to know it's not okay to be a loser. It's not okay to be a failure. It's not okay to pretend that you're something you're not. I see you as the best version of yourself possible. And it's nothing but love. Do with that what you will. Have a great day.